9 statements that make a man look desperate. Desperation repels people, not because they're cruel, not because they don't care, but because desperation signals something deeper, that you need them to complete you, that you're not whole on your own, that you're looking for someone or something external to fix what's broken internally. And nobody wants that responsibility. Nobody wants to be someone's lifeline, their entire source of worth, their reason for existing. People are attracted to wholeness, to strength, to someone who wants them but doesn't need them to survive, to someone who's building a life they're invited into, not someone who's drowning and looking for a rescue. The Stoics understood this profoundly. Epictetus taught that freedom comes from needing nothing outside yourself, that the moment you make your peace dependent on external factors, people, positions, possessions, you've enslaved yourself. Today we're examining 9 statements that make a man look desperate. Not to shame anyone who's struggling, because loneliness, rejection, and fear are real, but to show you what desperation sounds like so you can recognize it and change it. Because the path from desperation to wholeness isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about building a foundation strong enough that you genuinely don't need external validation to feel complete. Let's be honest about what desperation is and where it comes from. Desperation isn't the same as desire. You can deeply want something, a relationship, a job, an opportunity, without being desperate for it. Desire says, I would love to have this. Desperation says, I need this to survive. Desperation comes from emptiness, from feeling incomplete, inadequate, or worthless without external validation. From believing that another person, achievement, or circumstance will finally make you enough. And that belief leaks into your language, into how you pursue things, into how you respond to rejection, into how you show up in relationships, interviews, friendships. The desperate man seeks constant reassurance, sacrifices his boundaries to keep people around, takes whatever scraps of attention he can get, tolerates disrespect because being alone feels worse, changes himself to fit what others want, makes his entire identity about one thing or person, can't handle being alone with himself. And all of this is visible. People can feel it. They might not articulate it, but they sense the neediness, the grasping, the unstable foundation, and they back away, not because they're bad people, but because nobody wants to be responsible for another adult's sense of self-worth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." The desperate man has reversed this equation. He's made his happiness dependent on things outside himself. And that dependence shows in every conversation, every interaction, every statement. Here's what makes this painful. Desperation often comes from genuine hurt, from years of rejection, loneliness, or feeling invisible, from growing up without solid love or acceptance, from repeated failure that's eroded your confidence. That pain is real. It deserves compassion. But broadcasting that pain through desperate behavior doesn't get you what you need. It pushes away the very things you're reaching for, because people don't heal you, relationships don't complete you, jobs don't make you worthy. External validation doesn't create internal stability. Only you can do that work. And until you do, desperation will sabotage everything you try to build. So let's look at the 9 statements. Not to judge you if you've said them, most people have at some point, but to help you recognize when you're speaking from desperation instead of strength. Because changing the language is the first step to changing the underlying belief. 1. I'll do anything to make this work. This sounds like commitment. It's actually surrender. I'll do anything to keep you. Just tell me what you want and I'll be that. I'll change everything about myself if that's what it takes. You think you're demonstrating dedication, but what you're actually saying is, I have no boundaries. I have no self. I'll abandon who I am because the alternative, being alone, is unbearable. That's not love. That's not commitment. That's desperation. And here's what happens when you make this statement. People lose respect for you because you've just announced that you don't respect yourself, that you're willing to sacrifice your identity, your values, your boundaries for the chance to keep someone around. Healthy relationships require two whole people. Two people with identities, boundaries, values who choose to build something together. When one person is willing to erase themselves to maintain the relationship, it becomes toxic. The secure person says, I want this to work and I'm willing to compromise on some things, but I won't abandon who I am. That's strength, that's partnership, that's attractive. Epictetus taught, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you say, I'll do anything, you're making the other person's approval more important than your own freedom. You're handing them control over your identity. And nobody respects someone who hands away their power that easily. The reframe, not, I'll do anything to make this work, but I'm committed to making this work, but not at the cost of losing myself. Not erasing yourself for acceptance, but bringing your whole self and finding someone who values that. Desperation sacrifices identity for proximity. Strength maintains identity while building connection. 2. Please just give me another chance. This is begging, and begging never restores respect. Please, one more chance. I promise I'll be different this time. Just let me prove myself to you. You've been rejected from a job, a relationship, an opportunity, and instead of accepting it with dignity, you're pleading for reconsideration. But here's reality. Begging doesn't work. It never has. Because the person who respects you enough to give you a real chance doesn't need to be begged. And the person who doesn't respect you won't be convinced by pleading. When you beg for another chance, you're revealing several things. 1, you don't believe you have other options. 2, you don't trust in your own value. 3, you're willing to humiliate yourself to avoid rejection. None of these are attractive. None of these inspire reconsideration. The strong response to rejection is acceptance. Not cold indifference, but dignified acknowledgement. I understand, thank you for letting me know. That response does something begging never can. It preserves your dignity and sometimes makes people reconsider, because they see someone who respects themselves enough not to grovel. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Rejection is one of those trials. How you handle it reveals your character. Begging reveals desperation. Acceptance reveals strength. The reframe, not, please just give me another chance, but I understand your decision. I hope we can reconnect in the future if circumstances change. Not begging for reconsideration, but accepting the decision and moving forward with dignity. Desperation begs, strength accepts and moves on. 3. You're all I have, bang. You're my everything. This sounds romantic. It's actually a burden. You're all I have in this world. You're my everything. I don't know what I'd do without you. You think you're expressing deep love or appreciation, but what the other person hears is, I have no life, no friends, no interests, no identity outside of you. You are responsible for my entire emotional well-being. That's suffocating. That's pressure. That's desperation dressed up as devotion. Healthy relationships are built between two people who each have full lives, who bring their own friendships, passions, purposes to the table, who enhance each other's lives rather than becoming each other's entire existence. When you make someone your everything, you're not honoring them. You're trapping them. You're making them responsible for your happiness, your meaning, your reason for getting up in the morning. Nobody wants that weight. It's exhausting. It's impossible. And it inevitably leads to resentment. Marcus Aurelius practiced self-sufficiency even while loving others. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Notice the balance. Love fully, but don't make that love your entire identity. Don't collapse yourself into another person. The reframe, not "you're my everything," but "you're incredibly important to me. You enhance the life I'm already building." Not making someone your sole source of meaning, but building a full life they're invited to share. Desperation makes people responsible for your wholeness. Strength invites them to share in your already whole life. 4. What do I have to do to prove myself? This is asking someone to tell you how to earn their approval. It's outsourcing your worth. What do I need to do to prove I'm worthy? Tell me what you want, and I'll become that. How can I convince you I'm enough? You're asking them to define the criteria for your adequacy. You're handing them a checklist and saying, "I'll check these boxes if it means you'll accept me." But approval obtained through performance isn't real acceptance. It's conditional tolerance, and it creates a dynamic where you're constantly auditioning, constantly trying to maintain whatever persona they approved. That's exhausting for both of you. You because you're performing, them because they can sense the inauthenticity. The person who knows their worth doesn't ask for proof criteria. They show up as themselves and let others decide if that's what they want. If it is, great. If it's not, that's information, not a referendum on your value. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Meaning, your worth isn't determined by others' assessment. Seeking their approval checklist is giving them power they shouldn't have over you. The reframe, not "what do I have to do to prove myself?" but "this is who I am. I hope that works for you, but I'm not changing my core to fit criteria." Not asking for proof requirements, but being yourself and accepting the response you get. Desperation asks for approval criteria. Strength offers authenticity and accepts the verdict. 5. I need you. Said too early or too often, this reveals dependency, not love. There's a time and place for expressing how important someone is to you. In a long-term, committed relationship, "I need you" can be a vulnerable expression of interdependence. But when it's said too soon, too often, or in response to any conflict or distance, it becomes desperation. "I need you" prematurely says, "I'm not okay on my own. I require your presence to function." That's not attractive. That's concerning, because functional adults should be able to stand alone. To be okay, not thrilled, but okay, without another person filling their emptiness. Want is healthy. I want you in my life. I choose you. My life is better with you in it. Need is dependency. I can't function without you. You're responsible for my stability. One is strength choosing connection. The other is weakness seeking completion. There's a reason airplane safety instructions tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first. You can't help others if you're suffocating. You can't build healthy relationships if you're not already a functional person. The reframe, not "I need you," but "I want you, I choose you, my life is enriched by your presence." Not dependency masquerading as intimacy, but autonomous choice to build together. Desperation needs, strength wants and chooses. 6. Why won't you respond? Did I do something wrong? This is anxious over pursuit. It broadcasts insecurity and neediness. You send a message. Hours pass. No response. So you send another. "Hey, did you get my message? Is everything okay? Did I say something wrong? Why are you ignoring me?" Each follow-up message makes you look more desperate, more insecure, more unable to tolerate normal gaps in communication. Because here's reality. People are busy. They forget to respond. They see a message and mean to reply, but get distracted. Sometimes they're just not interested and hoping you'll take the hint. All of those scenarios call for the same response from you: patience and dignity. The secure person sends a message and moves on with their life. If there's a response, great. If not, that's information. They're not interested or not available, and you accept it without chasing. But the desperate person can't tolerate the uncertainty, can't sit with the possibility of rejection, so they chase. And every chase message confirms exactly what the other person suspected. This person is needy, anxious, and unable to handle normal relationship rhythms. Seneca warned about this. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. You're creating suffering by imagining worst-case scenarios and then acting on that imagination. They're probably just busy, but you've decided they're upset, angry, rejecting you, and you're responding to your imagination, not reality. The reframe, not multiple follow-ups, but one message, then patience. If they want to respond, they will. Not why won't you respond, but silence and moving on if there's no response after reasonable time. Desperation chases, strength sends once and moves forward. 7. I'm nothing without Job/person achievement. This is tying your entire identity to something external. It guarantees instability. This job is my whole life. I'm nothing without her. If I don't achieve this, I have no value. You've made one thing, a person, position, or goal, the entirety of your identity, which means if you lose it, you lose yourself. That's terrifying to live with. And it's terrifying for others to witness. Because what happens when the job ends, when the person leaves, when the goal isn't achieved? You collapse. You have nothing left. Your entire sense of self was outsourced to that one thing. The healthy person has a diversified identity. Yes, they care deeply about their work. Yes, they love their partner. Yes, they pursue meaningful goals. But they're not only those things. They're also a friend, a brother or son, someone with hobbies and interests, someone with values that exist, independent of any role or relationship, someone who would survive not just physically but psychologically if any one thing was removed. Carl Jung understood this. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. When you make yourself synonymous with one external thing, you've given up the power to choose who you become. You've handed that power to circumstances. The reframe, not I'm nothing without this, but this is important to me, but it's not the entirety of who I am. Not collapsing identity into one thing, but building a multifaceted self that survives loss. Desperation stakes everything on one thing. Strength builds on multiple foundations. 8. I can change for you. Just tell me who you want me to be. This is erasing yourself to gain acceptance. It never works long term. I can be whoever you need me to be. Just tell me what you want and I'll change. I'll become the person you're looking for. You're not offering to compromise on a few habits or preferences. We all do that in relationships. You're offering to fundamentally alter your personality, values, or identity to fit someone else's ideal. But here's what happens when you do this. Even if they accept the new you, it's not sustainable. Because you're performing, you're maintaining a persona, and eventually the real you, the one you tried to hide or change, will emerge. And then what? Either they leave because they feel deceived, or you spend your life in an exhausting performance, resenting the person you're pretending to be for. Neither outcome is good. The right person doesn't need you to change who you are. They want you as you are, with room for mutual growth and adaptation, but not fundamental identity erasure. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Decide who you are, then be that person, then find people who appreciate that person. Don't reverse the order. Don't ask others to define you. The reframe, not I can change for you, but I'm willing to grow and adapt in a relationship, but my core identity isn't up for negotiation. Not becoming whoever someone wants, but being yourself and finding someone who wants that. Desperation erases self for acceptance. Strength offers authentic self and accepts the response. 9. I'll wait as long as it takes. When someone's told you no. This sounds patient. It's actually refusing to accept rejection. Someone tells you they're not interested, not ready, not available. Your response? That's okay, I'll wait. I'll be here when you're ready. You think you're being devoted, patient, romantic even, but what you're actually doing is refusing to respect their decision. You're saying, I don't accept your no. I'm going to hover, waiting for you to change your mind. That's not love. That's not patience. That's pressure disguised as devotion. When someone tells you no to a relationship, to reconciliation, to whatever, the respectful response is to accept it, not to convince yourself it's just not yet, not to wait around like a loyal dog hoping they'll eventually choose you. Because here's what I'll wait communicates. I don't have other options. I don't respect your decision. I don't have enough going on in my life to move forward. I'm putting my life on hold for someone who's already said no. None of that is attractive. None of that makes someone reconsider. If anything, it confirms why they said no in the first place. Marcus Aurelius practiced acceptance. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? When someone says no, that's information. Not about your worth, but about compatibility, timing, their readiness. Accept it and move forward. The reframe, not I'll wait as long as it takes, but I understand. I hope you find what you're looking for, not refusing to accept rejection, but respecting their decision and moving on with your life. Desperation hovers. Strength accepts and moves forward. Look at those 9 statements. I'll do anything to make this work. Please just give me another chance. You're all I have. You're my everything. What do I have to do to prove myself? I need you, said too soon or too often. Why won't you respond? Did I do something wrong? I'm nothing without job/person, achievement. I can change for you. Just tell me who you want me to be. I'll wait as long as it takes. When told no, each one broadcasts the same core message. I am not whole on my own. I need external validation, acceptance, or presence to feel adequate. I will sacrifice my dignity, my boundaries, my identity to avoid being alone. And that message, however unintentionally sent, repels people. Not because they're cruel, but because nobody wants to be responsible for another adult's sense of wholeness. Nobody wants a relationship built on need instead of choice. Nobody wants to carry the weight of being someone's everything. Here's the hard truth. Desperation comes from a real place, from loneliness, from repeated rejection, from growing up without secure love, from failures that have eroded your confidence. That pain deserves compassion. It deserves to be acknowledged and worked through. But broadcasting that pain through desperate behavior doesn't heal it. It doesn't get you the love, acceptance, or validation you're seeking. It pushes those things further away. Because people aren't attracted to emptiness, hoping to be filled. They're attracted to wholeness, choosing to be shared. So what's the path from desperation to wholeness? It starts with this recognition. You are already complete. Not perfect, not without room for growth, but fundamentally whole as you are. You don't need a relationship to complete you. You want one to enhance an already good life. You don't need a job to make you worthy. Your worth is inherent. The job is just an expression of your capabilities. You don't need achievement to prove you matter. You matter because you exist and choose to live with integrity. This isn't empty self-help rhetoric. This is Stoic philosophy at its core. Epictetus, who went from slave to one of history's most influential philosophers, taught, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." Other people's responses to you? beyond your control, whether they choose you, beyond your control, whether they stay, beyond your control, what is in your control, how you show up, how you handle rejection, whether you maintain your dignity, whether you build a life worth living regardless of who else participates. When you build that foundation, when you become genuinely okay alone, something shifts. You stop chasing because you're no longer running from emptiness. You stop begging because you know your worth isn't determined by their acceptance. You stop making people your everything because you have a whole life they're invited to share. And paradoxically, that's when you become attractive. Not because you're performing indifference, performance is still desperation in disguise, but because you've genuinely built internal stability. People can sense the difference between the "I need you to complete me," desperate, and "I'm complete, and I choose you to share this with," secure. The first is draining, the second is magnetic. The first creates obligation, the second creates desire. The first pushes people away, the second draws them in. This doesn't mean you become cold or uncaring. It doesn't mean you stop wanting connection or expressing care. It doesn't mean you pretend nothing matters. It means you want from fullness instead of needing from emptiness. It means you express care without making someone responsible for your emotional survival. It means you pursue what you want while being okay if it doesn't work out. That's strength. That's attractive. That's what creates the healthy relationships, opportunities, and life you're actually seeking. Here's your practice. For the next 30 days, work on building a life that's full even when you're alone. Invest in friendships, develop hobbies, pursue goals that matter to you independent of others' approval. Spend time alone without filling it with distractions. Actually be with yourself. Notice when you're about to speak from desperation, when the urge to say, "I need you," or "Please give me another chance," or "I'll do anything," rises up. Pause. Ask yourself, am I speaking from wholeness or emptiness? From strength or fear? From genuine desire or desperate need? And if it's the latter, choose different words or choose silence. Build the internal foundation first. Become someone who's genuinely okay alone. Not thrilled about it necessarily, but fundamentally okay. Then, from that place of wholeness, choose to connect. Choose to pursue. Choose to love. The Stoics knew freedom comes from needing nothing. And ironically, when you need nothing, you become someone others actually want. Stop chasing from desperation. Start choosing from strength. Stay focused. Stay grounded. And remember, the quiet work you do today is shaping the strength they'll never see coming.